Friends and enemies, welcome back to the Canadian Bitcoiners podcast. We got Boomer, third mic today, just in case I got to bail with an illness. Big news this week. Brazil looking to buy 1 million Bitcoin for their strategic reserve. We got a Sparrow update. We got tons of stuff from what we'll call Notable North. Used to go by a different name on this program. And we're looking forward to getting into all that with you guys. But of course, first, the intro. And so, the government can say whatever they want about this thing not competing. It's for black market only. It's for this, for that. But they're really treating it like a threat. And one of the things that can't be attacked is your self-custody Bitcoin. And one of the things that can be attacked is the ETF. You can't be exposed to that. That's my view. It's not a good idea. And by the way, that'll hit MSTR too. It'll probably hit other stuff as well. Friends and enemies, welcome back. Canadian Bitcoiners podcast.
Friends and enemies, welcome to the CBP. Want to be better informed? Listen to Len and Joey. Spots is taken care of right off the top. Bull, Bitcoin, and easy DNS. The media is feeding the slop.
Well, boys, it is another day in Bitcoin land. Under 70,000. Countries are accumulating. Banks are panicking. What can we really say? What's going on? How you guys doing? Maybe we'll start with you, Boomer. You're the odd man out here. What's going on? Appreciate you coming. Love your tag. 225 bench, so I let you come. I think it's supposed to say on to the show.
Bench, but 225 squat, a little bit more than the squat on the squat, I guess. Yeah. I've been like hardcore hit in the gym since the end of last year. So like I'm like 3 months in. I'm down 20 pounds. All my lifts are up. Bitcoin's price is down, so the daily DCA goes a little bit further, man. It's all good over here.
Love that. Len, what about you, buddy? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm in good health, good spirit, right?
That's
the beauty and joy of not leaving the basement is that I cannot get sick.
You're sick in other ways, but you won't need any vitamin supplements. Anyway, listen, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Let's do the sponsors first and foremost. EasyDNS.
Hey, what happened in this week? We had a beautiful, 14th of February. Did
Valentine's
you guys all
Day?
Celebrate? Yeah.
You want to talk about Valentine's Day on this program?
No, I don't want to talk about it. It was a wonderful weekend, wasn't it? For everybody?
I didn't do anything. I had to take my kid. I was telling Boomer, I had to take my kid to the ER first thing Saturday morning, like 1 a.m. for steroid nebulized whatever for croup. So my wife and I didn't do anything noteworthy at all. I tried to watch an episode of Love is Blind. Couldn't even make it through. What about you guys? What did you guys do?
I went to Buffalo.
I had a Bitcoin meetup.
Typical Bitcoin response there. Okay, listen, this show is sponsored by EasyDNS. I can't believe we wasted time on that. Mark is not going to be your Valentine, but he will be your registrar. And if you want to get a website, port a website, use Mark, easydns.com. For a couple extra bucks, you can preserve the sanctity of your mailing list, preserve your sanity day in and day out. And Mark will give you what is basically white glove service all the way from front to back, no matter what you're doing on his platform. Also, if you're a Bitcoiner, virtual private server options, Bitcoin nodes, Nostr relays, you guys know the drill. Go to easydns.com, use the promo code CBP Media, and get 50% off your first round of buys with Mark. Who's the other sponsor? Who's doing it, Len or Boomer?
I could do it. I mean, Bitcoin, they'll be happy to preserve your time, your effort, your energy, if you want, by allowing you to trade the Canadian version of this for Bitcoin. Right? You could buy Bitcoin through them. You can sell Bitcoin to them. If you don't like the price, you want to start selling 68K, they'll be happy to facilitate that. But you want to buy from them on-chain Lightning, you'll be happy to do that as well. Remember, you can't do the buys with them without providing a Bitcoin address. They're non-custodial exchange. This is what you want. You don't want anybody holding on your Bitcoin, and Bull Bitcoin will not hold on to your Bitcoin when you do the buys. You could also pay your bills with Bitcoin. You can send money to your friends using Bitcoin. It ends up being fiat sent to them. A lot of different options over there. You could do limit orders. A lot of people's limit orders were hit these days because, given what's going on. But check them out. If you haven't yet opened an account, what the heck are you doing? Use our referral link below. Doing that, all your buys and sells in perpetuity are going to be a little cheaper. Bull Bitcoin, they are the best.
We love that. Okay, Len, let's hit some boosts, and then we'll roll to what's sure to be an exciting program tonight.
What about 256 Heat?
We do 256 only in the Brampton Hamilton man segment.
Yeah.
Okay. How's the volume going on your Bull Bitcoin referral code?
It's gangbusters. Yeah, it's gangbusters. Yeah. People are spending money on Bull, which is, you want to see that, man. The one thing I say about our, just to break, touch the third rail here for a second. The thing I said to a bunch of people at the Money Talks World Outlook Financial Conference is, look, CBP puts a lot of money through that sponsorship. And if I look at the days that the price is down significantly, there are not only many buys, but there are buys that signal to me that people with a lot of disposable income decided it was a good idea. Those are smart people, man. It's hard to ignore that signal. And it gives me a little bit of comfort when I'm making my small buys on those days too.
Yeah. And for everybody listening in, use that promo code because you're going to save on the fees in perpetuity, right?
Yeah.
Forever,
Yeah.
right? Like 0.25%. Don't you lose it? You save 0.25% on your
the
buys.
best way to say
It's 25% off your fees. So
these
the
savings are for life.
Yeah, you can't
For
beat that.
life.
I see Ben in the chat saying every bull Bitcoin buy gives you more chest there. Yeah, I do agree with that. I think that is true, actually, which is weird because I have none. So yeah, there you go.
And you can DCA using Liquid as well too. Like if you're afraid that the on-chain fees are going to go up, you can stack your sats with your Liquid account. It works for the daily DCA.
Into the bull wallet and then into secure storage and then into cold storage is the way to go. That's what I do. My DCA is set up that way, and so every couple 100,000 sats, I just move it over. There you go. Some alpha for you, Len. Tell me about people who gave us money.
What the heck? You gotta have more conviction. You gotta keep. This is Bitcoin, man. Just keep buying. Doesn't matter where. Just buy. Never sell.
Whatever.
Well, let's talk about Mode BTC Dick. 500 sats. He says Joey's home has but a single stud, quote unquote stud. Dan,
this house. Okay, hang on a sec. This house actually famously low on studs. Like I could point to. Right over here, I leaned against this wall and I pushed it in. There's another piece of the wall outside this room that I leaned against like a year ago, pushed it in. It's like crazy. There's no studs anywhere in here. I don't know what's holding the house up. Termites. It's all termites.
18 inches by center or 12 inches by center?
It's definitely not 12. Definitely not 12.
Then it's a very old house then, I think. Anyways, Dan Wedge, 513 sats. He says, the commentary on World Liberty Financial is amazing here. And he says, Len the Legend gets it right. P.S. This is a Nostr note. Still got it as a boost. So
appreciate you, Wedge.
Dan.
Yeah.
Sends another one, 513 sats, again by Dan Wedge. He said, the episode where Joey admits his home is famously low on studs.
Do people care that much about the state of my home? Like, who cares? I'm waiting for.
Well, they're saying. I think they're saying studs in quotation, right?
Know,
so like this.
I know.
Right? I think
this is the joke everyone latches onto. I can't believe that. Okay, all right.
They love it. Doom Satoshi 521 sats. He says, Canada/Quebec. Not only Hydro-Quebec refuses to adopt Bitcoin mining. Well before 2020, they had a serious lack of maintenance. Now they curtail production to make urgent maintenance. We have cheap power, and it is not used. So many water have flowed without producing energy. It's really sad. Quebec could have become one of the most wealthy regions. Now it's become political if we produced to export or not. Quebec is so dumb and stupid. Corey, Boomer.
You can call me Corey. I've doxed myself already. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. I'm not using Boomer then. Okay. Yeah.
So this is more up your alley because I think that you are in Ottawa area, right? So like you're close to Quebec.
I'm actually in the Quebec. I'm actually right on the other side. So
okay.
My driver's license is a Quebec driver's license.
Wow.
So yeah, are they dumb and stupid?
It's different over here, man. I'll tell you that much. But
I'm talking Hydro-Quebec. I'm not talking.
I'm not talking
about the people.
I'm not talking shit about Hydro-Quebec because I get 6.7 cents per kilowatt hour, and I'm running an S19.
That's
so
great.
I don't want to say anything. I don't want to jinx that. So
yeah, and of course,
Hydro-Quebec doesn't want to mine Bitcoin. They can keep sending me the cheap electricity, and I'll mine it over here.
I love it. That's great. Listen, I am jealous about that for sure.
Flow Captain, he says 1,000 sats. Have a look at the Juakali, Juakali project. Open source by Gridless, 12-volt enabled mining, could massively decentralize mining. Just what is needed right now. 12-volt mining, got to hook that up to the old cars where they had the cigarette lighters, and you can take advantage of that.
What did he call it? What's the spelling of that?
Juakali. Juakali.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Open source by Gridless,
Yeah, I see
12
it here.
volt
Yeah,
enabled mining.
It's probably somewhere in Africa, right?
It is in Africa, Gamma, Africa. So there you go. That didn't Gridless has been in the news a few times recently for some stuff that is promising. So they're building in the bear market, as the saying goes.
Yeah, your guy, Peter McCormick. I think his son worked for Gridless for a little while.
McCormick is my guy, man. He's doing a lot of good work now in the non-Bitcoin space, which I love to see.
It took him to stop making a Bitcoin podcast to become a hardcore Bitcoiner.
Is what it is, man. You build your base of skills and you build your ideology, and then you see where else it fits. And it turns out, as we know in Bitcoin, it fits a lot of places, and people are not ready.
Too bad
he
rugged a lot of folks in the process.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone.
We just water under the bridge now. It's just money people earned.
Well, he doesn't. I mean, no one's got a clean track record, but
that's bad. That's fucking bad.
Not disagreeing.
Come on, man.
Not disagreeing.
So let's as they say, slay your heroes. But obviously, we have to hold people accountable for the shit they do.
He's been held accountable. I mean, people
has he
all the time. Yeah, I think so.
More than most. He's been held accountable more than most.
He took those questions on his own show for months after that happened.
About BlockFi?
Yeah, about BlockFi, about a bunch of different things that he promoted over the years that turned out to be not so good ideas.
What a fucking disaster! And the fact he pulled his money off and didn't even fucking tell anybody.
I don't love that. That's a tough one.
That's what I'm talking about, man. That's how could you forgive this type of thing? So when you do that, what is he trying to do? He's trying to please the sponsors. Fuck the listeners. It's the sponsors are number one. If that's what you're chasing, well then fuck you.
Okay.
Because you don't give a shit about the people. That's
okay. If you want to rip McCormick, you got to put a boost in. You're
me?
Yeah. You got to boost the show.
No. Fuck it. I'm not gonna do that. Want to dive right into it?
I love it, man. Let's do it. Brazil up first. Do you want to give the summary? You want me to do it?
So yeah, Ronaldinho scored. And it's Brazil. There's a new bill that was introduced, and it's called the Strategic Sovereign Bitcoin Reserve, aka RESBIT. That's what it really is. It's a Strategic Sovereign Bitcoin Reserve. The person spearheading this is the Brazilian federal deputy, and his name is Eros Biondini. Never heard of him before, but he's getting a little bit of play here. And this is all relatively late news. This came to us just today, and I was rather busy, so I may not have captured everything. Hopefully you guys could fill in what I'm missing. What I understand is the goal with this bill that was introduced is for Brazil to accumulate 1 million Bitcoin, which, by the way, soon there's only going to be 1 million Bitcoin available to mine. And they want to accumulate this 1 million Bitcoin over a period of 5 years. And I'm not sure if they're going to do it evenly over 5 years or just wait it out if it's cheaper later on. I don't know what the story is, but either way, how they're going to do this is through two different ways. One is going to be through seizure of Bitcoin. So whatever they seize, they're not going to sell, or they may sell a little bit, but at the very least, they're going to keep that and for the most part and use that for the reserve. Also, they're going to use the domestic money printer, and they're going to ramp that up to buy some Bitcoin. They also say, which is interesting, is that their international reserves, they're going to make sure that they have some Bitcoin in there. They're going to up to 5% is going to be of Bitcoin. And furthermore, they're going to also enable the ability for their citizens to pay for taxes with Bitcoin, kind of reminiscent of El Salvador. Mm-hmm. And they also are going to give tax breaks to companies out there that are engaging in Bitcoin mining and also secure storage infrastructure. So they're trying to become Bitcoin friendly on a number of different fronts, not just for stacking Bitcoin on a federal level, not just allowing for people to pay with Bitcoin, but also they're going to give businesses the opportunity to do Bitcoin related business over there and give them an incentive. And they also say they're going to use cold storage for securing their Bitcoin. They're going to use multi-sig. And they also mentioned here, from what I gathered, ETFs could be used only in an emergency.
Yeah.
The real thing that they want to do is they want it to just have actual Bitcoin.
Did you consult with them on this? Did you get the consulting contract?
I did not get anything on the. But one thing also to consider with everything I said here, there's also a push in Brazil for a CBDC. So there's this general momentum you have here with digital assets they're trying to push. So I find it interesting. I have no idea if this is even going to see the light of day. Because like I said, this came late on my desk today, so I didn't capture everything. I would love to know, is this something that this has a chance to pass? I don't know.
It's going to pass. The current status. So it passed the House with 93 votes. They only needed 75. So overwhelming majority there. And you need Senate approval. The implementation target is 28. It's 1 million over 5 years. So, $200K per year. It's pretty good. They're going to use the Forex reserves, which is sort of weird, right? Because you're basically, again, don't forget the first B in BRICS. What is it? It's Brazil. Okay. So you have Brazil, who's trying to get off the dollar, selling dollars, selling US reserves to buy Bitcoin. Huge. That is huge. I've heard so many people in the macro space. Okay. The Brent Johnsons, the Eric Townsends, these people who are super smart, but don't love Bitcoin. Okay. All saying the same thing. BRICS is going to start their own currency. They're going to go to gold. They're going to go to, some other version of the dollar that's not going to be Bitcoin. Well, what's this? What is this? What is this? This is the 10th largest economy in the world telling you they're going to buy 1 million. 5% of the supply they're going to try and get for their reserve.
And it's also coming from a relatively left-leaning government.
Yes. So what is the argument now from these people? That this is not starting to become not only a de-dollarization story, not only a get away from U.S. debt instruments story, but also a Bitcoin story. Like I said, I think last week, a lot of people gave presentations at Mike's conference, very good presentations. But I think the one thing people get wrong is they show this chart, okay, of gold in treasuries versus U.S. treasuries in reserve. So gold in reserve versus U.S. treasuries in reserve. And everyone says, look, there's these two lines here. The treasuries line is sort of flat, bumpy, but not going down. The gold line is spiking. And they say, look, this is a de-dollarization, U.S. treasury. They're trying to decouple from these things. They're moving to gold. And I made this point at the conference. I'm going to make it again now. They're not moving to gold. What they're doing is not buying more treasuries and letting gold appreciate. They will eventually rebalance like any smart government would do. And here's Brazil, top of the BRICS, pecking order, maybe China or them, depending on how you view those economies over the next 10 years. There's questions about Chinese numbers, obviously. This is a top economy going into Bitcoin with US dollars. That's what de-dollarization looks like, because that line with treasuries dips while the Bitcoin line appears on the chart. You don't see this anywhere else. A couple other points I want to make. People will say, I think online, that this is a first mover type thing. I actually don't view these guys as a first mover. I think that they will view this as a second mover, in the history books. El Salvador may be number 1 or number 2, but I think most people will say El Salvador was inconsequential. I think what will actually happen is the U.S. put in a friendly Bitcoin president. Their treasury started holding Bitcoin instead of auctioning it off. And these guys saw the writing on the wall and said something needs to be revalued higher to keep this party going. It's not going to be gold, because gold drags industrial metals up with them, which will kill your cost of living, will kill your cost of manufacturing, kills your input costs. Can't have that. Gold is not going to be the thing that gets $10,000. It's not going to happen. Okay, not anytime soon. The revalue is going to come here first. And once that happens, we'll talk about all this other stuff. But the way I view this is just very, very positive. Corey, I don't know what you think. I'm sure you got some thoughts there. You're nodding your head too, so let me know.
Extremely positive, because like you said, they are a member of BRICS, and they're also the member of BRICS that's in the United States sphere of influence, right?
Yes. Great point.
So that is kind of, this Bitcoin thing might be the neutral reserve asset that we've been talking about for years and years and years. I don't know where Brazil stand on their gold reserves.
We can find out pretty easily. Brazil gold reserves. It wouldn't be that hard to find it. They have 27 billion as of January 26. So is that a lot? I really don't know what the sort of standard is there. But
more than we have.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I personally don't subscribe to this idea that Canada not having any gold is a big deal. We will just, if worse comes to worse, we would. Yeah, well, also we would nationalize the mines, exactly. And people will say, well, that'll kill the dollar. The fact of the matter is the dollar or the loonie would be dead already if we had to do that. So I'm not worried about us not having any gold. I think that's whatever. Yeah, they're in the top 10 to 12 gold reserves over there. So again, like they're not in the top 10. They're, just outside of it. And instead of accumulating more gold, what are they doing? They're doing this. Make of all this what you will. There are people who will say this is, not an interesting thing. It's not a story. There's people who still think Brazil is like third world in a lot of ways, which, I'm not saying you're going to get necessarily like fast internet there. Okay. It's latency might still kill you playing Arc Raiders in Brazil, but by other metrics, they are moving into the top 10 in terms of economic potency, both today and in the future. And to me, this is a huge story that I don't see almost anywhere on Twitter. How's that possible? This came
And
out
the price
Friday, by
hasn't
the way,
moved.
Len.
The
Came
price
out Friday, hasn't
price
moved. I sent this to Len today, but it came out Friday. And so I was busy. I totally missed it though. Yeah, same.
I didn't see it as well. It's totally,
no one's talking about it. And it's like, why? Why is this not a bigger story?
The gold thing, I just wanted to double back to what you were saying. Somebody's buying gold. Did this price of gold, what is it now? Is it 5,000 still?
Yeah, man, they're buying. I'm not saying they're
somebody's
not
buying it.
Yeah.
So,
they're not. It's not about whether they're like the case I want to make to people is not that nobody's buying it. It's that if you look at treasury reserves of gold, okay, there is not a significant jump globally of central banks buying gold. The value of the gold has doubled in the last calendar year. So like when you see this line spike up, it's not people bringing gold into vaults. It's the price of gold going up and banks starting to accumulate again. Now, are banks going to accumulate at 5,500? No. Are they going to accumulate at 5,000?
I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. And what's telling is that I would guess that you're going to find out over the next few years that the U.S. doesn't have nearly as much gold as like China, Brazil, some of these other countries, right? Because they're not going to buy it, and these other countries may accumulate at some level, and that's when people are going to realize like, oh yeah, the thing that's going to run is Bitcoin. And I do believe that the thing people are missing is that gold, whether it's related to silver or not in terms of industrial use, like I would clearly say no. The monetary sort of value prop of gold at 5,500 is just not that good. And the problem is it drags up silver, copper, all these other metals that contribute to the cost of your goods. And you can't have that. You simply cannot have it. So I don't know why people think it's going to just rip higher over and over and over again. It took literally almost 20 years for any move. And by the way, I think people complain that the only way Bitcoin goes up in price is when governments ease policy or they allow you to do something. I would say to those gold bugs, like, guess what? It takes literally every tool in a monetary and fiscal toolbox to be used and abused for 30 years before you get a price move. And by the way, you only doubled. What do you think is going to happen with Bitcoin? Bitcoin's already, from 2015, what is it? A 5x, 6x, 7x, whatever it is, something crazy. And we're 50% off the highs. I cannot help the gold bugs if they don't see the writing on the wall. This is that writing. Like this story is the first.
There's
big
still
writing
people out there, Joey. And I was listening to the radio on my way to Buffalo. There was one goon and he claims to be a financial person, expert, where the fuck he wants to call himself.
Yeah.
Saying gold was going to be 14,000, and he was also claiming silver would get to 500. And he was talking about the first time I've heard this in this type of narrative. He mentioned the word super cycle, 10-year super cycle with respect to gold.
Oh.
I've never heard this before. My gosh, this thing is bleeding everywhere in terms of the narrative. The
top sign, right? When the radio caller tells you $10,000 gold is
14,000.
Whatever. Yeah.
But the fact that money poured in enough to cause this to shoot up, and you hear stories that there isn't enough physical gold out there for people to buy it at retail. I don't know what the fuck is going on. I don't know when it's going to stop. Hopefully soon, but if not, I don't have any power to this. With respect to Bitcoin too, you got to remember this thing could just barely drive if it was a human being. It just barely got its driver's license. It's still so fucking new. Gold has thousands of years behind it. Bitcoin has just fucking a decade and change. So there's so much more that runway here. Who the heck owns Bitcoin?
Yeah,
so few people do.
Do you know the other thing that's
gold?
Yeah,
a lot of people
tons. The other thing that I want to note that we didn't talk about is the bill also includes state-supported mining operations.
That's nice.
It's huge. And so like you're talking about again, like I will release the presentation I did for Mike sometime, but in the presentation I noted that the thing about mining at the state level and the industrial level is before it means anything about grids and all this other stuff, benefits for sure. But what it means is governments are on board. You have to engage with governments to get an industrial miner up. And it means permanence. You have to have plans. Your PPAs have to be in place. You have to have hardware agreements. You have to have shipping pipelines. You have to have all that stuff locked down. You're seeing that now, by the way. Companies that don't have it locked down, Nintendo, Sony, Apple had a PPA, or sorry, not a PPA, but a hardware agreement that ends this year. And they just told everybody the new MacBook refresh is actually just going to be new colors and less firepower. Like you to get state supported mining, all this stuff has to be in place. Major companies did not do this and now cannot do it Bitcoin miners did not get that memo. They took seriously the idea that hardware would be hard to come by. They got these agreements, and let's see if they make good on it. Now, the big question for me is, again, I don't see anything in here about we will not sell the Bitcoin, which is obviously, not my favorite thing. But my assumption is that they won't move it. I think that's fair to say, right? The US is not selling. China is not selling anymore. A number of other countries are in the same boat. And there's a few other places like Czech Republic, Russia, and other European countries that are starting to look at this too. It's all just stacker's paradise, man. Stacker's paradise.
It's a really good. It's a great sign. It's a great sign.
Just enjoy it. Exactly. Just let it ride and have some fun and buy your Bitcoin. You will be fine in the long run. Don't spend anything you can't afford to lose in the meantime, and just hang in. Go back to work at McDonald's, pick up an extra shift, whatever, and just be happy.
And Joey, when you were at the conference, Mike's conference last week, how many times did you hear the cure for high prices is high prices?
Heard that a bunch. Yeah.
You heard that a bunch.
Yeah.
Because when gold, silver, copper, oil, whatever the hell goes up in price, what happens? More production.
That's right.
You produce more. You find more places to find gold. You find more.
And by the way, like people
what happens
will say
with
it
Bitcoin?
takes 10 years. Nothing. Exactly. It's inelastic. People will say it takes 10 years too, Corey, to spin up a mine. But the point is that it's coming.
Yes.
Exactly. And people don't understand this about Bitcoin. The demand is inelastic, and all the technology is working against you in gold mining. If you want to talk about gold coming out of the market, you can talk about meteor mining and all that other shit. But the fact of the matter is, if there's a deposit, like, you're going to get it faster next year than you did last year, faster 5 years from now than you can next year. And in 10 years, it's going to be faster and faster and faster and faster. And like that demand becomes more elastic over time, even if, we're all right about the monetary debasement trade. The problem is technology works against you in gold, where on the Bitcoin side, you're insulated from it, short of quantum, right? But like, that's a problem we can solve. You can't fix this. You can't fix the rock in the ground. It's there. It's there. And if you can get it faster, you're going to get it faster. And then before you know it, you're De Beers. You're telling people that the gold is rare because you control the speed at which it's extracted. But no one buys that anymore. Like, it's over and done now.
And with gold in particular, it's not just the mining. Like, at what price of gold does Brampton grandmother sell some of her jewelry?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I don't know.
Right?
I don't know.
Likely never, because they like to hold this and use this.
Her kids might not be interested in holding it though. Like, that's 80 trillion coming from boomers to Xers and millennials over the next 15 years, let's say.
Len, what did Ted DiBiase say all the time, Len, back in the day?
Everybody's got a price.
Everybody's got a price.
You're right. But the one thing I
knew it was a good idea to bring
we kind of missed is that because Bitcoin and Trump, there seems to be a loose connection between the two of them. Whenever Trump is no longer in power, and if there's a possibility that the opposing party comes in, Bitcoin may be something that's tied to the Trump administration, and they may want to undo that, just like Trump wanted to undo Obamacare. So there could be a disconnect between the U.S. government holding on to Bitcoin, and the price of Bitcoin is going to tumble as a result. And this
entirely
all
possible.
Political.
Entirely possible. But what if the Bitcoin is tied to Tether and not tied onto Trump? And what if Tether is completely captured? The Tether has been completely integrated in all these markets all over the place, and now Tether are using Bitcoin to back.
There's a difference between Tether saying we're going to continue to use Bitcoin versus the United States saying we're going to sell what we seize from people. The markets are going to react differently to those two messages.
Yeah. Also, I don't view this as a risk, because I think just as much as Trump is just a front man for his admin, I don't think Trump actually has a view on Bitcoin. I think Lutnick does. I think Besant does. I think other people who are smart economists and market participants do. And to be honest with you, the other thing that doesn't give me really any reason for concern is the Republicans are going to win the general in 28. And I have no concern about that at all.
Way too early to tell, man.
Maybe, but I really have no concern about it at all. The liberals over there are about as rudderless as the conservatives here. And to me, watching their sort of, their two hopefuls, AOC and Newsom, at the Munich Security Conference, these guys are retarded. They don't know anything about international policy. They're not ready for that stage, and it shows big time. And so, I think that to say it's tied to Trump, maybe, But I think it's probably likely that the U.S. views this as a national security issue at this point, is my guess.
They might.
Yeah.
Again, it's depending on who's running the administration over.
Just as an aside, like you have to, I've said this before, and I don't want to drag this topic out too long, but we are having a good discussion on it. The other thing is you need an injection of wealth to come from somewhere. Like it's not, you can't pump up real estate anymore. The stock market's already like trading at 20x PE, forward PE, maybe higher actually in some of the like top names in the S&P. You already have a currency that's been debased to all hell. So what do you revalue? I told you why I don't think it can be gold. Bitcoin makes the most sense to try and pump up, because then you give the next generation a little bit of firepower. They become participants, they become spenders and good GDP monkeys in a lot of ways. And that's sort of what you want. And
you're also front running your adversaries.
Yeah. Like that's the other important thing. That's why I think it's a security issue. And by the way, I'm not the only person who thinks that. A couple of really smart people at that conference told me the same thing. They think Bitcoin is a US security issue now. And, for me to say it's one thing, but for guys who get on stage and try and tell you that, Bitcoin is not gold, to say that, what's more of a national security threat, the gold price or the Bitcoin price? The fact that it's even a debate tells you everything you need to know about the direction this is
100%
going.
gold. No,
We're still
come
really
on,
small.
man.
Guys,
I'm telling you,
Bitcoin is still
okay,
really small.
but over time, okay,
Over time, yeah, 100%.
it is
long enough
is,
runway, absolutely. But if you're talking, if the question is for as of today,
it's not today, but like the fact that it's even a little bit of a debate, like it's nice. We didn't have this a few years ago. Governments were not friendly toward us, and industry was not friendly toward us. Institution was not friendly toward us, and now, again, like nation states is one thing, but you got pensions, endowments, universities, family offices, ETFs. Like the smart money is here. We just have to make it appealing to stay. And I think the asset is doing the job, man. It is doing the job.
How do you make it appealing to stay? You can't.
No, the asset's doing the job. The asset is doing the job.
100%. You look at the fundamentals of Bitcoin. It's not like you could change it to make it even more appealing.
That's right.
It's fucking appealing as it is.
That's right.
That's what makes it. It is.
But never forget
right?
either. By the way, 120-day lag between Bitcoin and gold. Like, don't forget that. A lot of people point that out. James Thorne on Twitter points it out all the time. Like we're around getting close to that 120 days now. A lot of bottom signals. A lot of like I feel. I'm not saying you have to live and die by the star signs, okay? But there's a lot of things pointing in the direction that these buys you make now are not going to be buys you regret.
100%.
That's all I'm saying.
Surprised we're not at 250.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
I'm fucking just amazed, given if I'm looking at the price of silver and gold.
Yeah.
But the fact we're sitting at 68.9, fuck, that's,
But this has happened many times before, where gold has front run Bitcoin.
Yeah,
and then
dozens.
100 days later, 200 days later, Bitcoin ends up catching up and then overtakes it. I don't know. It doesn't mean it's going to happen this time.
Yeah, I mean, it might not
be different. I don't know.
We'll see.
Well, Goldman Sachs. So we'll do just a few stories because I don't think we'll be able to touch them all. Q4 2025, Goldman Sachs disclosed that they have $1.1 billion worth of exposure into Bitcoin and another 1.2 billion of exposure into shitcoins. And
it's mostly ETH, by the way. Like ETH is 42.5%. So it's Bitcoin at 46, then ETH at 42, and then a bunch of other garbage.
More to it. Like you got to dig into this, and you can see that the trend is probably going the wrong direction.
Yeah,
they're buying IBIT and they're buying Fidelity's FBTC. So they're not obviously buying spot Bitcoin. They're having somebody else give them paper Bitcoin. And we have, in the grand scheme of things, the number I mentioned, only 0.33% of their total reported investment portfolio is respected to Bitcoin. So it's small potatoes. It's very, very small, 1/3 of 1%. That's all it is. But some people are looking at this. This is bullish. Yeah, Q3 2025. It's just a month earlier. So we just got the Q4 report. If you look at Q3 2025, they had more Bitcoin exposure then. So they were selling off some of their Bitcoin quarter over quarter. In fact, Q2 2025 was their peak when they had 1.65 billion worth of exposure in Bitcoin. They're selling the Bitcoin and some ETH too, it looks like, to buy Solana and XRP.
Mm-hmm.
So they're diversifying their digital asset portfolio into fucking shitcoins.
These are traders, man. Like this is
momentum trading. Yeah.
On fucking why? Man?
It's interesting. It's interesting. Like, people will say that, and you're right to make the point, Len, that, of their total portfolio, what's their total AUM? Their total AUM is like $750 billion. It looks like, yeah, about 720. So they got 720. God, my sinuses. They have 720 billion under management. They got about, what was the number we just gave? Two and a third billion in crypto. Let's say they move it to 1%, right? The number triples. But if they move it to 5%, which is the number you're starting to see from certain funds who are saying to people, yeah, like somewhere between 2 and 5 is the right level of exposure to Bitcoin. You're talking like you're adding a fucking ton into the market cap. Number one. Number two,
and it has to be Bitcoin that they move into.
That's right.
Because even all the other ones don't have the liquidity to withstand any
That's a big
that.
thing. You'll move the market, right? That's
Bitcoin
a big thing.
barely has the liquidity to handle that type of movement.
Yeah.
You sure as hell can't do it with like a fart coin.
That's right. And it also gives cover to other big money institutions to say, look, Goldman's saying 5%. We can go to 3 at least in every family office, every pension, every endowment. Like the thing is, you're already actually seeing this. Like if you look at I think it's the F13. I can't remember the name of the form, but the F13 filings, let's say, where these guys disclose what they own in certain funds, you're seeing that these guys are buying the dip, right? And I know, we can talk about the sort of legitimacy and whatever of the ETF versus spot. I think it's not really relevant to this conversation, but what I will say is that what you want is floor setting buyers like universities, pensions, whatever, who will not sell on a dip. They will add because they have conviction. And like you guys both said, right, the fundamentals of Bitcoin don't change. And these guys are looking at fundamentals. They don't bow out of an idea because the price goes down. They double down. They have a board. They have an investment, guide. Like these guys have a mandate to follow. And that mandate is not buy high, sell low. It's not get out when everyone's afraid. It's if this idea is good and we think this idea is good, we're staying in. And so, if you get to somewhere between 3 and 5 at Goldman, that's easy. Another, let's say if they go half into Bitcoin, it's 20 billion. If they go 75% or 100%, like Corey was saying, just because of the liquidity profile. Yeah, just because of the liquidity profile. You can't buy XRP OTC at 10 billion. It doesn't make sense. So for these guys, I would just say that they are the tip of the spear. And there's a lot of people, I think, out there. And this is like, we've been vindicated on this over the years, all three of us. People say, oh, well, you don't know that there's people waiting to buy. You don't know there's pensions waiting to buy and endowments waiting to buy. Well, actually, I do. If I look now at the number of these institutions that hold Bitcoin, they were waiting for some kind of cover and they got it. And so they're getting it here again and over and over and over again. Now, this allocation, like you mentioned, Len, super small, but it's still directionally correct. And as much as I wish they weren't barbelling with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and whatever other garbage, XRP, Solana, there's probably more in there. I'm not sure, but that's just the way things go at the beginning. Much like we did. I bought Bitcoin, a bunch of other shit. And these guys are learning the lessons that we learned 10 years ago, but they will learn them faster because, as I always say, the path to the campfire is clear now. You just have to walk by the torches, right? And learn the lessons and get there soon. And they will. They have to because it's their mandate. They're not, their client base is not going to wait for them to figure out that Brad Garlinghouse is a moron. They're not going to wait for them to figure out that Jason Calacanis is, holding $1 trillion in Solana or whatever that fat idiot's got, right? Like they're not going to wait. They're just going to do the thing that makes most sense to them. And Len, one of the things we used to talk about early in the show is how there's two kinds of institutions, right? There's people who have history happen to them and people who make history happen. And if you think Goldman is the latter, then you love this. Goldman's not going to be a victim of someone else's idea. They're going to tell you what to buy because that's what they do. And they're going to set the tone here. I like this a lot, man. I'm bullish. It's a bullish week. A lot of bullish stories.
Boomer, anything you want to add to that?
No, I agree with all that stuff. Like, think about the last time that we were at this price. What was going on? It was just
regulatory no clarity, regulatory uncertainty. Didn't know who was going to be in the White House. Choke point 2.0, you name it. Tons of reasons to hate the asset.
And it was retail driven. Now retail is out to lunch. Retail's poor. And here we are talking about like a new Treasury Reserve Secretary who's going to come in and lower rates. There's stimmy checks, rumors about stimmy checks.
Yeah.
There's an election in the United States coming up in 9 months or so?
Yeah.
So right around that time where politicians start giving out checks before an election, a certain percentage of that money is going to go into risk assets. And I know for us and for the vast majority of your listeners, we don't view Bitcoin as a risk asset, but let's face it, most retail does, and they're poor, but they get checks coming. And what are they going to do? They're going to gamble it.
Right.
And some of them are going to go to Poly Market for sure. Some of them are going to go Kalshi or bet on whatever. But there is a certain percentage of those people that are going to take that stimmy check and they're going to buy Bitcoin with it.
Totally.
Coinbase
feels a lot more bullish than it did the last time we were at 68K.
It's a good opportunity to talk what's going on at Coinbase, because the last story ties into this one slightly. And it was revealed that Coinbase, in one way or another, they hold about 12% of all Bitcoin out there. 12%. So Michael Saylor, you can move over because these guys got you beat. In fact, it's rather funny if you really look into it, because the 12% number that's been reported that they own of Bitcoin includes all institutional holdings, including MicroStrategy. Well, whatever MicroStrategy has.
Most of MicroStrategies.
Yeah, because they use Fidelity as well. But 12%, that is a fuckload of Bitcoin. And they have BlackRock ETF, they have the Grayscale ETF, and more, right? They have a lot, all under one house. And I'm wondering, their insurance premiums got to be through the roof, right? Because if something happens, they got to be able to cover this. So I'm wondering, what are their insurance premiums? Because, people, they're breaking in a lot more these days into homes and shit like that. And they're based out of San Francisco, right? Like, according to Google, they say that's an area that's seen a rise in opportunistic property crime. So maybe they're fucking, don't leave the cold card in the parked car, because you come back, it's fucking gone, and all of the Bitcoin is gone as well. But Coinbase, they say that they have all this Bitcoin. People are saying this might be a 6102 opportunity, right? The fact that they have all this Bitcoin. I doubt this shit will ever fucking happen. There's no fucking way. The reality of a 6102 happening.
Write it down, Andre. When you're clipping the show, write it down, okay? Len said 6102 will never happen to Coinbase.
I know it's likely not going to happen. It's within the realm of possibility, but you know what? It's not going to happen in my lifetime. I'm pretty sure it's not going to. But
nobody's talked more shit about Coinbase than me. I talk a lot of shit about Coinbase.
Oh,
but give them
Coinbase too.
as I should. I think let's give them. They haven't really lost anything on the custodial side.
Nothing.
Yet.
They're undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
They're undefeated. Never hacked.
So,
no problem.
Nothing.
There's a first time for everything,
reported.
But they've
and
been
I
a good
assume
at that end thus far.
I assume they haven't lost anything, but really, until we could verify everything, we're just going based on what they tell us. But you know what? There is still the fact that they have all this under one house, under one roof. There's still the possibility that there could be some theft, right? If it happens, I say bring this the fuck on. I'd love to see this shit happen. We'd have FTX, with Quadriga, we had Celsius, we had BlockFi, different animals, but there is some overlap here. They all those ones, they close shop, but it goes to show you that every time you rely on somebody else to hold onto your Bitcoin, there's the possibility you're going to get rugged as part of the process. So they'd have, like I mentioned, a 12% Bitcoin that they have on their balance sheet. Okay, that's fine. Does this mean anything? No, they don't have extra voting rights. They can't control the network. The only thing that they could potentially do, if they wanted to, the only thing they could potentially do is dump Bitcoin and move the market. Other than that, and that is a lot, but it's not everything. The network will still run. The asset will remain the way it is. But in terms of having all that Bitcoin, I don't fucking care. Let them.
I wonder how much of this 12% is like stuff that people have on their ShakePay account and stuff like that. Because ShakePay uses Coinbase Custodia. So like if you're a listener to the show and you got ShakePay and you got a couple $100 on your ShakePay account in Bitcoin, that Bitcoin is being held by Coinbase, not by ShakePay. So are other countries doing that? Like, I don't know anything about apps from other countries other than the US and Canada. How much of that 12% are these types of things?
A lot of it.
Probably a lot. So at the retail level, we do have some control. And I'm guilty as charged. Like I know I have a ShakePay account. I hold a little bit of sats on there, at all times. Like I'm trying to get my streak all the way up to 1,000. Like I'm getting close. So like I should be moving those sats into cold storage routinely, which I do, but I don't move it every time that it gets to $100. But if everyone did, that would go a long way into
would it move the needle?
It would definitely move the needle. We could probably get that 12 down to 8 or 9.
I don't think that's true. I don't think
becomes
that's
11.95.
Yeah, 11.99. Yeah, I think most of that is ETFs and these other guys who are using it for storage. I'm with you.
MicroStrategy alone.
Most, yes, but not all.
Bitcoin.
I don't hate the idea of
It's not all.
Like I don't hate the idea of Coinbase holding this stuff, by the way, because like you said, Corey, my co-host.
So far, so good.
My co-host hates the idea that Coinbase is custodying, but the fact is they haven't had a problem, which tells you something. They are the biggest honeypot. By the way, they've been the biggest honeypot for a decade plus. And so, even when this thing was worth 20,000 in 2017, they presumably didn't have the same security, features and procedures. Still no problems. And I will say that, these guys still have problems with buys and sells during market rips, right? During let's call it busy periods in the Bitcoin market and probably in the altcoin market too. I'm not sure, but apart from that, you're really doing okay if you're with Coinbase. Doesn't mean you should be on Coinbase as a retail person or on ShakePay as a retail person. Like you should be buying. Even if you're buying over on those companies instead of Bull Bitcoin, you shouldn't be holding it there. I think Corey, to your point, like, I put some money on ShakePay to pay out like the fantasy football winnings. Why? Because they cover the fees. I might put some on there before a conference. Why? Because they cover the fees. Like I don't want to pay the fees out of my Cove wallet or whatever. Like I'll let them cover the fees.
Shout out Praveen.
But like the long term, nah. I think that most people, even if they move it all too, like Lem was saying, it's like it's a drop in the ocean. Think about how much money those guys have from the institutional side. Like it's an insane amount, and it's going up, not going down. Where does the government hold their Bitcoin? Does anyone know? The U.S. government?
Does the U.S. government know?
If I had to guess, it's going to be Coinbase.
I think it would be too, but I don't know.
Yeah. So
it's interesting, right? These guys are. Again, like people say that, and I'll point out one more thing. Mm-hmm. People say that Coinbase is the sort of not that you're suggesting this, Len, but if there was going to be a 6102, like most people would say Coinbase is the target. I still think it's Saylor. Saylor's the easier target. Saylor's a guy who I don't think has as much commitment to the asset as he wants you to believe. And I also think that he's a guy who's, he's pretty flexible to the idea of governments getting involved in Bitcoin. And if it means they want to, get involved in MSTR in some way, sure. And then, if you put your tinfoil hat on, listener, viewer, go look at where MicroStrategy's office is, how far it is from Quantico. It's not far. If you're a good golfer, you probably get there in 5. So
it's the same Starbucks. They go to the same Starbucks.
Like when
me
Quantico,
and
when Quantico pizza alerts go on, like when there's like a lot of pizza being ordered at Quantico, it could also be MSTR ordering pizza, not just the guys at the feds.
Quadriga, you're familiar with.
Yeah.
BlockFi, you're familiar with. Celsius, you're familiar with.
Yeah.
What would you tell those customers? What would you have told them before?
It was obvious.
No, it's not obvious, Joey. The thing is, up until that point, they never lost the customer funds.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're going to use that as going to be what you're going to use as the example, your argument, up until Quadriga got rugged, ditto for BlockFi, ditto for Celsius, they had that same quote unquote perfect record. All I'm trying to say is, you don't want to have anybody rely on holding on to your keys.
So you're always right about that.
Who the fuck it is, perfect record or not, I'd rather fucking hold it myself.
No problem with that.
So
no problem with that.
Then I'm not going to say, they have a great record now, Coinbase, perfect, but it doesn't mean it's going to happen moving forward. People do stuff day to day even. I'm sure you put on your seatbelt when you go driving, Joy, because you see the people around you, they are shittier drivers they are today than they were yesterday, and tomorrow's going to be even worse. Totally. And you're trying to protect yourself from an accident that may not happen. But you're doing this as protection. Putting the seatbelt on, taking your Bitcoin off the exchange, similar type actions. You're protecting yourself. This is something that you're giving yourself a chance to live another day, financially or physically. I don't give a shit that they have a perfect record now. Because you know what? When that record's no longer perfect, what do you do? Oh, it's it's gone.
The bigger risk.
Maybe in 10 years, you're going to get, when they go through the whole process, just like the Quadriga users, now they're getting fraction of the Bitcoin value, or a fraction of the Bitcoin today than what it was at the time. If only they held on to it, rather than getting paid pennies on the dollar, they could have everything and still have, they would be able to eat their cake and enjoy it. But now they have nothing. Just
Yeah,
crumbs.
I think
So-
the bigger risk for me is regulatory, not security.
The bigger
That's all.
risk for me is shitcoins and
Or
Coinbase.
there, yeah.
How ingrained they are in the shitcoin community, and if they're over leveraged on one of these coins that goes completely tits up, and they have nothing else to liquidate to save their ass, and they have access to, I'm not saying that they got access to Sailor's coins just because Sailor uses them as a custodian. I'm not saying that, but maybe there's like one of those ETFs that really haven't done their homework as much as others. And if Coinbase, the choice is completely go bankrupt because of some bad shitcoin deal, they might liquidate that Bitcoin. And that could start a whole cascade of selling.
You really never know what's going on in exchanges, right? Like
You just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing too, like
don't know.
I'll just point out that we probably won't talk about the story because I do want to talk about the unrealized gains tax in the Netherlands. But in terms of like you don't know what's going on at what seems to be an upstanding exchange. Kraken, middle of an IPO cycle, fires their CFO. Like how do you? She worked there for 16 months.
And Kraken have been one of the better,
Kraken's not just one of the better exchanges. They're funding the Trump investment accounts in Wyoming. They're going to front the $1,000 for all those kids. They are involved in a number of different things.
Yeah.
You don't fire your CFO during a period of financial pressure.
Yeah.
You keep your CFO. You wait till the IPO is done.
Agreed.
They basically gracefully pushed her out. She's in some kind of strategic advisory role, which is just, corpo speak for fired, but you better still answer the phone if we call you because we don't know what any of this shit means. That's interesting. And so you never really know what Coinbase is going through month to month, week to week, year to year.
And October 10th wasn't that long ago.
That's right.
When all those shit coins went belly up and there's bodies floating somewhere that we haven't.
We'll find out
yet.
what happened with Kraken. I think you're right. Yeah, there'll be something there. Anyway, Len, let's talk about unrealized gains and go to the notables.
No, we'll do the unrealized gains in the notables.
Oh,
side,
okay, sure.
One more thing about Coinbase and with the Canadian slant. Did you guys talk about how the Canadian CEO of Coinbase recently resigned, took a new job?
No.
I wasn't aware of that.
Lucas
Where'd he go?
Matheson.
Do you know where he went?
Yeah, I know exactly where he went.
Where?
Open Door.
Really?
So he took a role at Open Door.
Open
I met him.
Door,
I met him a couple of times. Nice enough guy, I suppose. Literally, he lived in Ottawa. He lived a walking distance from a Bitcoin meetup that we used to host. Literally walking distance. He wouldn't even have to drive.
Yeah.
And he knew about the meetup. I personally invited him. Like I spoke to him about it. Never came once.
He's high value, right? I wonder how many things he goes to, period. Maybe not just you.
Canadian CEO, like I don't know.
Everyone sees the stories, man. Me and Len joke about all the time how we're getting closer and closer to not doing anything in public. That ain't a joke. Like you leave your little community and you never know what the fuck people are thinking. They see you, they know you. Anyway,
So best of luck to Lucas Matheson at Open Door.
Good luck selling houses the cheap way. Love it.
Block fills. I think this could be the last story we can wrap up.
Sure.
Never heard of them before this week. I'll be perfectly honest. Never heard of block fills. It's a global financial service technology and trading company. They provide digital asset liquidity, execution, and clearing services to professionals and institutions around the globe. This is what I got it from Google. And the problem with this business model is if things are going well, things are okay. When things potentially get fucked up the ass, like it does in that downturn, well, these guys, they're going to take it hard. This is where we are right now. Bitcoin is down roughly 40%, 50% from its all-time high. So these guys, they're feeling it. They're saying, quote unquote, market conditions are causing them to halt withdrawals from their services. Sounds like this thing is ready to go tits up, if you ask me. And the sharks, they're circling the waters. They are doing this move, but they are still letting customers, do buy and sell. So you can buy and sell using their platform, their services, but you can't take it off. That's fucking bullshit, right?
Len, let me ask something. I'm going to give you a list of names here, and you tell me what they all have in common, okay?
Mm-hmm.
FTX, BlockFi, Celsius, Voyager, and Genesis. They have two things in common. What do they have in common?
they all went tits up.
They all went tits up, and they all halted withdrawals right before.
I thought you were going to say that Pomp used to like.
I mean, Pomp
pitch
probably
them
loved
the
them all.
time.
Yeah, he had a promo code with every single company.
Mike Novogratz is on the board of
Yeah.
each one of them.
Like this is what happens, Len. You're right. You start here and then you finish in the gutter. Yeah.
I like these guys. I have more faith and more value in testnet coins at this particular moment than with these guys. Right? These guys, they are presenting no fucking faith whatsoever. They are saying they're working with liquidity partners to try to rectify this issue. So reading between the lines,
liquidity partners,
they are doing
like
a lot of
sexual health
out.
counselor. Yeah.
No,
okay.
they're doing they're sucking dick, and they're sucking dick hard to try to make sure that they're able to get enough money out there to meet their obligations, let people withdraw their funds. These guys, they say they have 2,000 institutional clients, and they trade about $60 billion a year. And who could have guessed not holding on to your keys could be a recipe for disaster? I digress. I think we have to do some investigating here. Did the Quebec pension plan or the CPP buy any of these, buy into the Blockfield? They must have done one of these seed rounds. They must have been able to buy in. I don't know. Sequel to a bad movie. It's never good, but maybe this one will be a better one. I don't know. Like you mentioned, FTX. That's one that people are looking as a comparison. This is slightly different. FTX rugged retail.
Yeah.
Right. These guys, these are going to potentially rug institutional buyers. And FTX, they collapsed because they're funding orgies, right? These guys, they just fucking timed the market wrong. That's the reality. They fucking traded themselves into a corner, and it looks like they're going to need a bailout. I don't know. When this happens, sounds like it's inevitable. When it does happen, what happens to these institutional clients? Do they have investment? Do they have the same type of confidence in Bitcoin moving forward? I hope fucking so. I hope they just don't they use this as an example of saying that Bitcoin's a scam or it's not real or anything. These guys, they dug themselves in a fucking hole. They can't just trade their way out. They're going to go tits up, it looks like. And, well, you know what? Fuck them. Fuck anybody who used them. Flush this shit down the toilet. We need this every so often.
Yeah.
People could fucking learn that holding on to your Bitcoin is the only way of trading it. Fuck it. Having somebody else hold on to it. Fuck it. Just simply put in your cold card, sleep all at night. That's the way to do it, man.
Use an exchange that never touches your Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Use Bull Bitcoin. There's other ones as well too. Obviously, like I'm wearing the Bull Bitcoin hat. Bull Bitcoin's a sponsor of the show. We all use Bull Bitcoin. You know, Pablo's in the chat. Like, of course, we're going to talk about Bull Bitcoin, but there are other ones. And if you don't have Bull Bitcoin available where you live, then find an exchange that doesn't hold your Bitcoin. Hold your own keys. Invest in a good hardware wallet. Learn how to use it, and you sleep at night. You never have to think about this. And then you can laugh when Len comes and talks about it and makes jokes about how everyone else is getting rugged. You can laugh because you did the right thing.
I mean, what else can you say? Susquehanna, owns these guys or backed them or whatever, and they don't have a great track record. Like they bought one of the FTX blow up bodies.
Is that a land acknowledgement?
LedgerX? No, it's not. Susquehanna. Anyway, so they bought LedgerX after FTX blew up to try and get into derivatives. And I don't know if it worked or not. I didn't look it up, but I know they backed that. They also backed. Let me just pull my notes up here. They also backed KuCoin, which is another sort of, I'll call it a gray exchange. They don't operate in Canada, and in parts of the US, they're right? I can't remember, but in parts of the US, they don't operate either because there's regulatory issues that they don't seem to be able to, get over the hurdles of. So like you have these guys, like Susquehanna's operating in a really gray area. And then you see this Blockfills thing. Like none of us had even heard of Blockfills before today. And the first thing I hear about them is they're halting withdrawals. Like, okay, well,
what a great first impression.
Yeah. And like, by the way, just as an aside here, Len, you mentioned it, and I know we've talked about it before, but just, there's like almost 400 people listening today. So let's get these people up to speed. The reason that you don't want exchanges to halt withdrawals and then allow you to keep buying and selling on the platform is why? It's because you're just buying and selling a ledger entry. You're not buying or selling real Bitcoin or real whatever in this case. So like you have to understand that the withdrawals is the thing that really matters. If you can't pull it, they don't have it. And that's all there is to it. And so next week or the week after, we'll talk about how they went tits up and we'll do a little dance on their grave. Bob's your uncle. But, you know, this is, by the way, not the only story of a company going tits up. Like Fold is in trouble too. Fold was a darling for so long, and they're getting fucking crushed. Their stock went from $14 to $1.50. Like that, like that's brutal. Absolutely brutal. They laid off a bunch of people. Their gross profit margins negative 150%. They're losing money on every dollar, and not just a dollar. Just nasty stuff all over the place. So you got to think, like, Fold is a quote unquote financial company, not an exchange. But let's face it, like, these guys don't know how to operate lean. They don't know how to run a business. They don't know how to operate in a bear market, and it shows. And so to tie a bow on this, you know who doesn't know how to operate in a bear market? Coinbase. You know who doesn't know how to operate in a bear market? ShakePay. You know who doesn't know how to operate in a bear market? Bull Bitcoin. Why? Because their business practices allow them to do things properly. And you can say what you want about custodians, not custodians. We prefer, obviously, bull and non-custodian for a number of reasons. But I can't knock the hustle on the Coinbase or ShakePay side either, because those guys have seen wild upswings during times where there was no certainty this thing was not going to go to zero, and they sustained. And now you don't hear about them at all. No news is good news, man. And meanwhile, these other companies, Kraken, Fold, Bitfill, whatever that stupid company is called, BlockFill, like there is something to the idea that quality companies operate quality businesses. And, you know, I think that's a telltale sign here. These guys have been through serious bear markets, not 50% off 125K. That's not a real bear market. It's 10 times what it was 7-8 years ago. Like, you have to be ready for this. You can't lose on this bear market. You want to lose going from 20,000 to 3,000 when you have 10 employees, fine. But you can't lose on this. Not when there's a Bitcoin president, Bessent in the White House, Lutnick in the White House, Tether on U.S. shores. Like, this is not the time to lose. And to be losing now really tells you everything you need to know about these guys.
We don't have Central African Republic. We fucking lost.
Yeah.
So I don't care what you say. Everything now is just it's a losing game.
I'm surprised you haven't said Singapore dollar, like POOR, yet. It just occurred to me today, and we've never made that joke in 5 years doing this show, whatever it's been.
I'm holding it in my hand.
Singapore, poor dollar. We never said it. And it's like, what have we been doing here? It's like, we're not paying attention. It's all the cold meds just triggering creativity inside of me here. Let's go to the other side. If you're with us on audio, come back tomorrow for the other half. If you're with us on video, hang in. We ain't going anywhere. Huge crowd tonight. Usually we get a couple hundred. There's almost 400 in the live chat, which is great. If you're on Twitter, go to YouTube and join the live chat. Have fun over there. We'll be right back. Do you guys say anything?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. Let's go to the let's go. I am so hopped up on Advil, cold, and sinus. You guys would not believe it. I must have had 7 coffees today, just trying to like sustain.
We can tell.
Through the day.
We definitely can tell.
I told my wife, we're gonna ask Corey to help because around 8:15 is when I've been crashing. But let's not say how much, but I increased the recommended dose of the cold meds at about 6:30.
Fired up.
Yeah, they're really landing
levered?
now. Yeah, I levered up on Advils. Exactly. Yeah, I'm multiples levered here. So let's keep rolling. Where do you want? We should start with Netherlands.
Once there's a drawdown in the price, you're gonna really feel the impact, and you gotta fucking add more to ensure that you don't get liquidated.
That's right.
What a fucking disaster. U.S. job numbers. Let's talk about them.
Listen. Why don't we start with Netherlands?
Let's start with Netherlands.
That is a huge story. Huge story.
All right. Well, they passed the 36% unrealized capital gains tax. That's going to be still has to go through the Dutch Senate. That's as of the weekend. I'm not sure if things changed today. And all this is going to be taxing paper profits, right? Like stuff you have anything that's profit on paper, you're going to have to pay the tax starting January 1st, 2028. I talked about unrealized losses last time we talked about this. I did some digging here. Apparently, if your assets lose value, those losses could be carried forward to offset future gains. Okay. I mean, I guess that is a small win, but this is essentially saying you are going to pay in the future and you're going to have to then offset it. So all this is really doing, like, the Dutch, before this even came into reality, this whole fucking 36%, or what the fuck is it? 36%. Yeah, 36. They were paying some sort of pseudo.
Yeah.
Right? Like
almost worse than this.
It was a fake number. It was 4-6% that they had to pay on their wealth, on their total wealth, on January 1st. And somebody took this to the courts and they won. It was found that the government was collecting these revenue, a violation of human rights. That was 2021, I believe. That was when it stopped. So for the last 5 years or so, they stopped collecting this. So they have been losing out the government on billions of dollars, which they were accustomed to collect. And now they want to somehow, moving forward, collect it again. 36%. These guys are a bunch of cucks. They have been paying it in the past. They're going to pay it again in the future. If you really analyze this, the way I look at it, this is an admission that things are going to be more costly in the future. Why are things more costly in the future? Because you are adding more liquidity in the market. There's going to be more money supply, and you're essentially having more dollars chase the same goods. And so you're admitting that, yeah, it's going to cost more in the future. We are going to flood the market with more money. And you know what? You're going to fucking pay for it. So 36%, that's a huge fucking number.
Yeah.
And people are going to have to pay this. It's everybody has to fucking pay this, regardless if you only have a few $100s worth of shit that, like, in terms of the market or whatever, or a few $1 million. You know, somebody that could probably be more inclined to pay this. Everybody's going to have to pay this stuff. What's going to happen in Europe? You have the ability, if people born in Netherlands, they could easily pick up and move to a neighboring country because they have the ability to move and work and live in any other country that's in the European Union. Now, granted, there could be some issues with family being farther apart, language barriers and shit like that. But still, if you put enough of an incentive, if people could save money by going somewhere else, Portugal, for instance, where taxes may be more friendly, you're going to have people of means pick up and get the fuck out and go somewhere else.
You're already seeing it. Norway. Look at Norway. Norway put in like these crazy wealth taxes, and something like, I think it was like 40% of the millionaires in
I got the numbers. They raised the wealth tax and lost more than 13 billion in tax revenue. I mean, the numbers are clear. UK did the same thing, raised capital gains tax, revenue dropped 10% year over year. That was 24 and 25. California proposed an unrealized gain tax, and it's estimated that about 2 trillion in wealth left the state. France, same thing, mass exodus in the 90s when they tried this. And then, you know, the other problem that Netherlands is going to have is there any place that's easier to leave than Netherlands because of the European Union angle? They can go anywhere pretty much. You know, some fun tax advice here on CBP. If you find yourself in a situation, I'm going to talk to you, listener, viewer. If you find yourself in a situation where you are being subjected to oppressive tax regimes and you want to escape those oppressive tax regimes, and much like Norway, that oppressive tax regime tries to tell you that you have to pay a state tax 5 years after you leave on any money you earn, what you should be doing is saying, look, I'm not actually going to work in Norway. You should make yourself an independent contractor. This is the way to do things properly. As an independent contractor, you work and earn in the state in which you live, not in Norway, California, whatever, these places you want to put these taxes in place. So, you know, keep an eye on that. I know they say worldwide income for 5 years, but it's very difficult to enforce.
What's the Norwegian viewership of the CBP?
I don't know. It's probably greater than 0 if I had to guess, but I could pull that up too. But okay, so let's talk a little bit about this. The problem here is really twofold, right? And Len touched on it. And I don't think a lot of people are talking about this. This is actually better than what they had in place already. It was between 4 and 6% usually people were paying, and the sort of rationale was, okay, well, the government's going to set the value of your stuff based on, who knows? It's probably a black box, although I didn't really look. The fact of the matter is what they're doing is putting their thumb on the scale. Markets decide what things cost, and they decide what things cost when they are bought and sold at the margins. The next marginal buyer decides the price. This is the case everywhere. It's in all assets, for all time, in perpetuity, till the end of this universe and the next. Okay, this is the only thing that matters. The marginal buyer sets the price. If you have a system where you're forced to sell assets to pay a tax bill for income that you did not enjoy as a market participant, you have a couple of problems. Number one is you become a forced seller. So you become a price agnostic seller of an asset after you receive your tax bill. So think about, you buy $100 worth of stock and you make $10. Now you have to pay $4. So you have to sell $4 of stock. Well, if the stock drops, you actually end up with like less than the $100 you started with somehow, and had to pay tax on gains that not only you didn't enjoy, but losses. The reason, by the way, Len, the losses are carried forward is because you can't realize them in the same year, even though everyone will realize these losses at some point. Because this is what happens in markets. People become forced sellers. They're price agnostic. They have to get out. They can't sell their home. so they have to sell something else, right? And this is what happens with something.
They have
like
to
this.
sell the thing that has appreciated that they're paying.
That's right.
The tax on in the first place.
It's crazy.
And there's a lag. So you're assessed the tax at time X, and then you have to pay the tax bill at time X plus T, right?
Well,
so
look,
it's like time passes,
Yeah.
and that asset could have dropped in the meantime. So you're now forced to pay the tax bill of something that occurred
You're 100%
2
right.
months ago.
You're 100% right.
You have to sell that thing that has already gone down. It's ridiculous.
So think about it, right? During a bull market, you have like this brutal tax bill on gains that you never realized because you didn't want to sell to realize the gains, right? So you just hold it. And then during a crash, you have to pay taxes on the gains anyway because they evaporated on you. Like what's going on here?
This is crazy. You have to sell the thing that has gone down in price.
You have to try and top tick. You have to
so
you have to sell at the top. Like if you held Bitcoin, for example, right? Let's say you bought it 60K and it went to 125. And then, on January 1st, it goes from 125 down, it bleeds
40.
away, whatever, to 60 or 40 or whatever. Like you got to pay for the value on Jan 1, but now you only have the value on Jan 10 to get the money back. Like it's actually nuts. And even better, like if you think it'd be one thing if this had never been tried anywhere. If someone would say like, yeah, we're going to try this new thing. It's unrealized gains tax. We're piloting this. We're pioneering this. But it's never worked. It doesn't work anywhere. Everyone that tries this sees the same thing. Short-term gain, long-term loss. And by the way, the people who you really want to capture with this, okay? I'm talking like real wealth, 1% types, not, Bitcoiners who bought 10 years ago or Bitcoiners who have, $1 million or $2 million in Bitcoin. You're talking about guys who have hundreds of millions of dollars. Do you think those guys aren't hiring every lawyer they can to restructure, get away from this tax? And they're going to be successful. They're going to be successful because they will find some way with domiciling, citizenship, 6 months plus a day residency, whatever they have to do. And they're just not going to pay it. They're just not going to pay it. So again, much like every other nation state, and don't make me tap the fucking book. It's usually right beside me, but it's over there right now. The sovereign individual says this 100 times, that the big thing that you need to be looking at, yeah, you got it there, Corey. The big thing you need to be looking at as a signpost is stuff like this. If something like this comes, you get the fuck out now. You do not wait because this is the least extreme thing they will do. And tax regimes in places like the Netherlands, like the public service in these countries does not have the firepower to pursue the centimillionaires. They do have the firepower to pursue you. And that's who they're going to go after. And you can't fight this if you're a middle-class guy. What do? Your options are so limited. Let's say you try and find like the low value of your Charizard that appreciated. You get the Shadowless first edition Charizard. It appreciated another $2,000 this year. Well, what are you going to do when they charge you on that gain? Every year you got to pay for the Charizard? It's crazy. Unless you just start telling them you don't have the Charizard. And then they ask you, well, where'd it go? Did you pay the taxes on the sale? I lost it. You can only say boating accident for so many things. You can't say it like what if you held gold? What if you held what happens to you then? What happens? What happens is you have to sell. Your quality of life gets worse. You become a forced seller. You cannot save. This is just ridiculous stuff.
And in the aggregate, your populace are before sellers.
Yeah.
So your country is getting poorer and poorer every year that this happens.
Again, complete lack of understanding at the government level about the balance between spending and income. Every household has to make these decisions. My wife and I decide when we're going out for dinner. We decide what we're doing, week to week. The hydro bill is this much every month. The water bill is this, whatever. Okay. This is what we pay, and this is what we can spend, and this is what we save. Countries don't do this. They print and go into debt, and then when they run out of money, they try and steal it from you. I would love to know what percentage of the Netherlands population, the Dutch population, is on government support.
There's probably I just, while you were talking, I took a peek because like I mentioned, in Europe, the ease of which one could move from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, it's not the same as we have here in Canada. It's very, very simple. But a lot of people with money, they go to Monaco, they go Liechtenstein, they go other places that have very favorable tax laws. I took a look to see how many billionaires there were in the Netherlands in 2020. There was, and keep in mind the value of the dollar has gone up since then. There was
Did you hold on? Did you say that the first crack at this was 21? You did, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was 38 billionaires in the Netherlands in 2020. And as of last year, there are 14 billionaires. So you went from 38 billionaires in 2020 to 14 last year. The value of all currencies got wrecked in that 5-6 year period of time.
Yeah.
And yet you see there's an exodus. Already it's proof in the pudding that there are people of means have fucking left. And more people of means are going to continually to fucking leave.
And won't
It only
come.
makes
They won't
sense.
come at all. Yeah.
And surprisingly, the CEO of Bitfinex is one of the billionaires that lives
Really?
in another. Yes.
Wow.
I was amazed to see that. So
How many people on that list have ties with the company ASML?
Oh God, who knows?
it's more, I see Heineken. I see crypto. That's the guy from Bitfinex. Yeah, it's shipbuilding, media, real estate. Yeah.
I heard a rumor somewhere that this whole thing had everything to do with ASML, the chip
Why?
company.
Why?
The chip company. Because the government wants to somehow get a stake in that company.
What governments are
so they want to
clueless.
reduce the stock value of that
Unbelievable
specific company so they can take. I don't know. This is
It's good theory.
conspiracy theory.
Fun theory. Yeah.
Twitter. I don't know.
It's
Yeah,
interesting.
there's
right?
no
Like,
specific individual billionaire that is associated with AMSL in the Netherlands. according to Google.
I have a big, like a huge issue with this because
As you should. I think everybody should.
Do you know what the other thing is? Like,
Ridiculous.
everyone knows this is going to come here at some point. Everyone knows.
But there's going to be other things that are going to come here first.
They're already coming.
You're going to
They're
get
already
like
coming.
the real estate capital gains on primary real estate.
Primary is going to be big.
That's
That's
low
low hanging fruit, man.
That's
That's
low-hanging
easy.
fruit. So
I
they'll do
say
that
all the time.
way before they'll do this.
Yeah, but that's a signpost, right? Like the thing is, there's a lack of understanding, or maybe a willingness to really address it. That your spending is the problem, not your tax receipts. And again, they governments around the world continue to just they miss the point. And by the way, like you can't capital goes where it's treated well. And I think when you look at like the U.S., when you look at Switzerland, when you look at a number of different places where your capital is treated much better, why would you stay? There's nothing keeping you there. By the way, most of these countries, like, are any of the countries that have done this better off in terms of just like sort of societal cohesion since 2020, since 2015? No. Like people are looking for reasons to go, and I think a lot of the time, one of the sort of the mental blocks is it's going to be too hard to leave. Whatever we're dealing with is going to, it'll blow over or we'll get used to it. But no one's going to get used to paying another $10,000 a year in tax and becoming a forced seller. Like you're just not, no one's going to get used to that. And I think the Canadian story is going to be similar. I think a lot of people in Canada are going to say, man, things are good, but I'm just going to leave. I'm just going to leave, and I'll note that the reason we tell people on this show that you need to save in Bitcoin is because, in my opinion, when the time comes that you want to go, you're going to have to go quickly. You're not going to be able to wait to sell your house. You're not going to be able to wait to find a job somewhere else. You're going to have to find a way to go quickly. So like you re-domicile a business you have, or you find a way to work for an American company quickly or another company somewhere else. You are not going to have time to try and sell your house to go. And I think this sort of law tells you that agility is important. And they know you're going to try and go. 5-year exit tax is the tell. They're going to try and keep you there. They're going to tax you anyway on all these gains. I say, fuck them. You're not getting anything for your taxes. You're getting less and less and less on the deal everywhere in the developed world. Why would you pay these people? They don't want you to succeed. They want you to fund their bloated bureaucracy, bloated admin, bloated spending. Again, like I'd love to know how many people in the Netherlands are on government supports. What is the number of dollars you fucking need to keep that scam going? more.
Joey, I know. A few minutes ago, you mentioned a number. What was it? I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at like what this cost Norway when Norway imposed a tax.
Yeah.
So this tax was that Norway imposed a wealth tax.
Yeah.
They were expected to raise about $150 million.
Yeah, and they ended up. They
ended up losing.
Yeah.
600 million.
Yeah.
Who could have guessed that?
So
who could have guessed?
$54 billion left the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
So think about like, yes, the tax revenue that you lost, $600 million on a country the size of Norway is massive.
Significant.
There's only 8 million people. It's the size of Ontario, right?
Yeah.
So $600 million is a massive amount of money. But think about that 54 billion that left.
Yeah.
All those people, all those businesses.
You can tax those guys at whatever you want. For 5 years, you can tax them at whatever you want. But 5 years goes by in a flash. Like you don't.
But they're not there. Yes, I'm with you. You can tax them all you want. So okay, sure. For 5 years, you're able to drain.
That's right. You try. Yeah, you try.
Drain them a little bit over 5 years. But in that 5 years, they're in Portugal.
Yeah.
And
there's all their contributions are. That's right. You got it.
Yeah, they're spending their money in Portugal now.
Yeah.
And they're creating jobs in Portugal because these guys are buying boats and they're buying cars and they're going out to restaurants.
It's a fact, baby. It's a fact. Yep.
My God, this is
a dumb
policy.
It's so short-sighted. And like I said, if you were pioneering it, I would understand you want to try, but it's just never worked.
Or this could just be some political stunt that from
I don't think so.
I don't know. 2028. There's
guys,
time.
Corey. These guys in the Eurozone, like they have this, I think, falsely ingrained sense of like communal support, right? And I think a lot of people, if you went to the Netherlands, would say, "Yeah, we need this tax," and I think it'll happen here too. And the reason they will say on camera or in surveys would be, "Well, I want to see additional supports for XYZ, sort of low end of the economic income scale cause." But the fact of the matter is this: it's been the same way all throughout history. Misery loves company. And these people who are not producing, not making any money, have no savings, not only do they not want you to continue to grow, they actually want you to come closer to them on that continuum, whatever means it takes. And you see this here. Like, in Canada, it's going to come that, Len, you mentioned the primary residence cap gains. Like, it's only a matter of time. These guys have, again, like sort of first world governments all have the same problem, and they're all trying the same dumb ideas to fix it. We're nomadic now. I don't have to stay in one place. I can run CBP from anywhere. I can run CBP from, fucking, I don't know, Botswana. Internet there's probably not great. Crime also a problem over in Africa. But let's just say, for argument's sake.
Somewhere low on the golden machine gun.
Yeah, like you can go anywhere, right? Buffalo's an hour from me. If I go to the border and say, hey, I want to go shack up with Wayfaring I'm going to visit them for a month. Here's my information, whatever. You go, you never come back. Like it's not that hard. No one, and by the way, the States is not going to give you a hard time about that. Why? Because we've villainized them at every turn. Like people don't see the writing on the wall. Productive people are becoming a scarce resource in the first world. And if you can pay taxes somewhere, those people are wanted everywhere. You're gonna find, if you are a productive person and someone who can bring a tax receipt with you, there's gonna be a lot of countries that want your business, and you have an obligation to your family and to your money to go places where it's appreciated. And that list is shrinking.
Yes, Joey, all roads lead to Len, and you're walking that path. It takes a while, but we all get there eventually.
We're all leaving, baby. We're all leaving.
Fucking Ridge. Let's talk about this.
Oh, sure. Jeez. Wow.
Right? Like this I never heard of Tumbler Ridge before this. And these places you typically only hear of when something like this happens. You have a fucking tragedy.
So sad.
It is. In a perfect world, you never hear of Tumbler Ridge because that place remains quiet. Everybody lives happy, and you don't have this bullshit going on. For anybody that's unaware, because I'm sure everybody in Canada is, there was a mentally ill person in a very tiny town in northern BC, went to a school and shot up a bunch of people, including kids. 4 12-year-olds, 1 13-year-old dead, a bunch of people, I think 25 people injured as a result, right? The guy that did it.
I think the number's up to 27 now, 27 or 28. So yeah, it keeps going up.
Yeah. So it had a firearms license. Incredibly, had a legitimate, valid firearms license that expired though in February 2024. Had it, even though the police had multiple visits to the home because of mental health concerns. I don't know about you, but anybody that has the police doing even one visit, never mind multiple, they should not have the ability to legally carry a firearm. That should be a just cause to take that shit away and to start from scratch. And the person in question, from what I gather, was making a transition from one to another for 6 years. This has been a long-term, 1/3 of the person's life. Well, essentially was transitioning.
12 years old when he started.
Right. At 18 deceased.
Yeah. Yeah, good point, Corey. Yeah, you're right. Wow, that was 6 years ago. Holy shit. Yeah.
Just gonna bring that up.
Wow.
The mother too was an advocate of transgender youth, and she had one of her own that was able to transition. And well, the dude was even using drugs, hallucinogenic drugs, like shrooms, and he, quote unquote, had a complete break from reality one time using these mushrooms. Lit a fire, tried to light his family,
burn his
home.
house down. Yeah.
Yeah. The police showed up. He was outside, just fucking doped up on mushrooms. And people out there have to look at this as an example. What the fuck's going on? The human body, just in a natural state, doing absolutely nothing, it has changes. You know, you go from a kid to an adult in a very short period of time. A lot of new hormones come through your body.
Hello?
New hair is grown.
Hello?
New.
Yeah, sorry, YouTube's on the phone. They said we're being demonetized. Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, take care.
People grow hair when they didn't have it. They have new emotions, new feelings. Shit, because this happens all the time. Every fucking person goes through this. And that happens naturally. And there's even like during this whole state of going to adulthood, there's confusion because you're not sure what, you know, you're just trying to grasp what the fuck's happening to your body. Imagine if you have that and now you're going to be throwing in some blockers or maybe new hormones to go against the natural progression of things. The mind must be totally fucked up as a result. Yeah. And on top of that, Boomer mentioned you had people being shut out because of COVID. You had to stay at home. In a small town, it was challenging to begin with, but now you're throwing COVID on top of that. This person, I'm not trying to say that this person, like, to give it a break or anything, this person truly is, you know, mentally ill. But motherfucker, man, like, not like the parents didn't do this person any justice here. Like, if this person was able just to fucking try to do it on its own and without putting any foreign substances in the body, you know what I mean? Now you have kids that are fucking dead. I have a 12-year-old. She's soon going to be 13, right? So I could kind of relate to what's going on here. And of course, she's not passed away. But if you have somebody like that is killed because of some lunatic, now every Christmas, every birthday moving forward, you have to think about it as a fucking memory. All the people that are in the school at the time, you know, and even in a small community, people were saying, I can't leave the house now. I'm afraid to go to school. I don't blame you for this because you don't know what's going to happen the next time. I don't think it's going to happen, but I can't guarantee you. Like, you don't know what the next lunatic is going to come up with a fucking gun. You've scarred so many fucking people as a result.
Yeah.
Like, this is something we got to fucking address. Mental health issues, they just become magnified when the economy is even in the shitter, and it's going to get even fucking worse. This type of thing, I'm not saying it's going to happen moving forward, but mental health problems, they are going to be magnified moving forward. There's going to be so many more. I don't know what to fucking do, man. Like, I feel sorry for a lot of people out there. And you know what? For me, I'm an old dude. If something happened to me, honestly, I lived a good life. But you know what? A lot of other people, I hope you don't live fucking your life scared. You live life to your fullest. You don't let fucking lunatics control you and control what you do, because you know what? Life is too short. Fucking enjoy it.
If you guys will indulge me here for a sec, you know, there's a lot of adjacent kind of problems here, a lot of parallel problems. And I'm going to start with the obvious one, which is COVID. Corey, great bringing that up. The story behind this kid is that when he was, 12 years old, he started this transition journey. But that wasn't sort of the first exposure he had to that community and also to violence. Someone pointed out that in the Roblox store, he had built a game that mimicked shooting up a shopping mall, and it stayed on there forever. And he was on the Roblox subreddit where he was groomed for transitioning. He was, playing these video games and going on Reddit, and people were targeting him. He's of weak mind. He's young. He's, probably feeling socially neglected. Certainly if his mother was of the view that this was a good idea, I dare say parenting was an issue as well. And by the way, spare me the phobia comments on YouTube. I don't fucking care what you think. The patterns are emerging now. They're very clear. One thing you didn't talk about, Len, is in the aftermath of this story, the RCMP released this news release that they had their gun registry breached. 2.2 million gun owners, right? Yeah. So they in the background, they tell everyone that they had a gun ownership problem. So you have laws targeting legal gun owners. This guy had an illegal gun. You have a registry that you can't protect of legal gun owners. Again, didn't help this situation. The guy, he's obviously mentally ill. You go to his house, and I've made this case before that in Canada, disorder has become the norm. And so whether it's a guy slumped over on a park bench playing around kids or with kids playing around him, or it's a guy who's, got weapons in his home in Tumbler Ridge, it becomes normalized. People say, well, it's a tough time to grow up, screens and whatever. But no, the solution to this was obvious. And it's this switch flip meme, flip the switch, solve the problems. You cannot prescribe hormone blockers to kids. You can't. You cannot give mentally ill people drugs. You can't. You cannot allow a guy who you find with weapons in his home freedom. You can't.
Who has a history of violence.
Tried to burn his house down. He's on drugs. His Reddit account tells a story. His Reddit account is talking about disassociating. He wants to be on mushrooms. He wants to be on all these other things. This is what I'm taking. What's safe for me to do to have a good time? What about a bad time if I want to have a bad time? His Reddit account tells a story. And they knew all this. And now instead of having the sort of testicular fortitude to have taken this kid down at 16, 17, 18, he killed 10 people, whatever it was. Kids and his own mother. What should the response be from Polyev, from Carney, from, whoever the leader of the NDP is? I don't know who it is. Is it Don Davies still? It might be. What is the response? The response can't be standing quietly at a memorial holding flowers. Nobody wants to see that. Does that community want to see that? Do the parents of the deceased want to see that? How suicidal have we become in our empathy that the response seems to be universally lauded, but actually is a no action outcome?
And the police response immediately afterwards seemed to be more sympathetic.
Gun person and all this other bullshit. What the fuck is going on?
Than to the
what the fuck is going on? They won't say that. They won't say it's a guy in a dress. They won't say it's a transgender person. They won't say it
because they're afraid. Because they're afraid they're going to lose their job. Right?
Again, this is it.
You say the wrong word in this country right now. You just say the wrong word to the wrong person at the wrong time when the camera is on.
Yes. You're suicidal in your empathy. Yeah, you're suicidal.
Your career is over.
I don't know. At some point, there is a sort of point of no return with stupidity. And, I look at that police chief giving the address, saying stuff like gun person. And I think, how much money did that police department pour into training to get this guy who does not believe the things he's saying, who does not say those things privately, to say that on how much did it cost?
It's not about that. It's not about that. It's not about that. But if he says the wrong thing,
I know.
If he says the wrong thing, there's his career.
So you've paid.
And he probably has a kid that goes to university. And he's got a mortgage on a he's got a cottage. He just bought a new car.
It's your family and your livelihood at stake for saying the correct thing at the correct time, and just no sympathy for the victims. No sympathy.
There's sympathy there, but there's fear.
Yeah, I don't. You know what? You have to have a sack sometimes, and we say some unpopular things on this show, but I would stand by the things we say. And I think if that guy said that thing at that time, he would have had a circle of support from coast to coast. Like there's a problem emerging here with that community. By the way, many American, especially LGB groups, are trying to shed that community from their cause. And I mean, we can debate about, oh, well, how many shooters were this, how many shooters were that. The fact of the matter is, per capita, like this is an alarming number now. You're seeing this more and more. By the way, New York, I think it was New York in the States, first successful lawsuit against a doctor and a psychiatrist who recommended transitioning. I think it was almost 3 million. That's going to be the smallest settlement that you see in the States for that mistake. You're going to see this everywhere because as is now being printed in the New York Times, as is now being printed in the Atlantic, as is now being printed in a number of different left-leaning publications in the US and around the world, transitioning kids is a mistake. You want to do it when you're 18? Fine. You want to do it when you're 25? Fine. You are not going to do it when you're 12. You're not going to do it when you're 6. There's not going to be any more TLC specials, I Am Jazz, about a fucking 10-year-old turning into a chick. You're just not going to have it.
The fuck is that?
It's an old show. It was in the 90s, I Am Jazz. This kid wanted to be a girl, and TLC made a fucking multiple season show. And I think that kid now is having some problems too. Shocker. Who could have seen it coming? Well, everybody. And to Corey's point, we're afraid to say it. Well, you can't be afraid anymore. This is going to continue to get worse. And this is not the only thing for which and in which you cannot be afraid to speak the truth. Okay, there's a number of different silos.
There's plenty of them.
Yeah, and I think more and more people are going to come to this realization. That cop is never going to get invited to certain places again after saying gun person. His social life will suffer a great deal, and as it should. You got a comment in the chat there, Boomer, that you were right. Systematic compliance. I like that phrase. Cop was afraid. I think that I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that is the time to overcome that fear. Like if you're in that profession and you're afraid to say the wrong thing, you're in the wrong profession. Sorry.
But it's every profession. Maybe not to, like, obviously the stakes here are way higher than you can possibly imagine. Police at a tragedy like this, children that have been killed. This is the highest level of, sensitivity, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, but it happens to all of us. You're not going to say that you never. I know I have, and I have a big mouth.
Of course,
I have a big mouth. I'll say whatever. And there's been plenty of time where I bit my tongue because I knew I can't say this, even though it's completely correct.
Yeah.
But I'm afraid to say, like, oh, if I actually tell the truth here, there's going to be consequences.
Yeah, repercussions. Yeah.
I have done it. I have done it before, and then I have suffered the consequences afterwards for people telling me, "Don't fucking say that." Right? Yeah. Like it has happened.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see how this.
The Brampton man.
Yeah, we have to because the fan behind my camera is going to die pretty soon, and the camera's going to shut off. So let's. I close my comments.
Is it
Corey's participating?
Is it on batteries?
No, it's not. But when it streams in 4K, it's not meant to go 4K for 2 hours. So I have a little fan behind there that I bought for the camera. It was like $10 on Amazon. It works really well. The camera didn't shut off. Remember it was shut off a few times a few weeks ago? So I had to solve that problem, and I was able to solve it. Anyway, let's get into it. 256 Heat is the sponsor. You can hear my miner. Oh,
no, I can't.
No, you can't. Exactly. Running about 8 feet behind me. Can't beat it. I mean, if you're going to heat your house anyway, why not get paid for it? You're stupid if you buy a heater from Canadian Tire that doesn't reimburse you in KYC free sats and allow you some financial freedom down the road so you can say the wrong thing at a press conference. This is important. It's more important than ever. And if you want one, Twan at 256heat.com will call you on the phone. He will Zoom you if you want. We'll go over your hydro costs, go over your setup, and find a solution that works for you. Custom, tailored every time. Go there and you save 5% or something if you use our code. So
sure do.
Get in there, man.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. I know you guys have said it. There are no cooler people in the Bitcoin space.
Oh, Twan's the best.
Than the home mining guys.
Yeah.
The home mining guys are never talking about price. They're always helpful. They're always positive. It's just an excellent community. Twan's product is the best in the business.
Yeah.
But you will learn a ton. You will learn a ton if you like Joey said, if you need to heat your basement or your garage anyway, do it. You're gonna learn so much, and you're gonna expose yourself to a part of the Bitcoin space that not a lot of Bitcoiners really expose themselves, and you will reap the benefits.
But by the way, just before we go to this segment, there was a shooting at a hockey rink about an hour before the game in the States, and law enforcement reporting a man dressed as a woman was the gunman. So data point there as well. Let's talk about Brampton men and Hamilton men.
All right, let's go there. So we got a man was arrested in a spiritual scam after cleansing a woman's money, jewelry, of evil spirits. So this dude was arrested and charged after allegedly defrauding a woman out of $61,000 in cash and jewelry, in which police are describing as a spiritual scam. And they tell that this man told a woman that he had won a lottery and he was lucky because he was very close to God.
How do you read these with a straight face? This is one of the best ones we've ever had on this show.
Yeah, this one's really good.
Last week was church too. I think Len might be searching like church crimes Brampton on Google.
I'm trying to go. Anyway, investigators say that he convinced a woman to give him a large quantity of money so that he could bury it in the ground and remove the evil spirits by praying. He promised to return the money after the ceremony. After some time, he asked the victim for more money and also told her that evil spirits were in the jewelry. And in order to get rid of the evil spirits, she needed to turn over her jewelry as well, more jewelry as well. So he eventually did not return the money nor the jewelry. So she called the cops and they charged him for fraud over $5,000 and so forth. So he had to appear in court. That's the last I heard of him. That's story number one.
Okay.
Story number two, we have human bones from the 1800s were stolen out of a car. So whoever broke into a car likely got a little bit more than a bargain for in the form of a banker's box that contained human bones.
What are you doing with bones in the car?
An archaeological dig.
Okay.
And police say that they got a report of a theft from a vehicle with quote unquote special circumstances. And they say the car was parked overnight when somebody broke in. And also stolen was a DeWalt Sawzall power tool and a white cardboard banker's box.
True.
That was in a trunk.
Okay.
And the box, there were two sets of lower leg bones that archaeologists dug up at a construction site. And the bones were in the process of being taken to a secure facility. And it estimated the bones were buried in 1800. And they didn't realize that the bones were taken. It looks like they just, breaking into a car. I don't think they were taking the human anatomy. But anyways, that's the story. We have.
If you're a car thief, that's bad luck,
Somebody in a.
Well, why
really
are they? If you
luck.
have the bones in your car, like it's one thing to leave your Sawzall in the car. It's another thing to leave the bones. Like, why not keep the bones on your person? You don't think before you go. Presumably
nobody's using them. Nobody's used them for 18.
Yeah, but I don't if I
250 years.
I'm not speaking as a guy who does a lot of work with bones, but I would not leave I don't even leave a football in my car. I'm not going to leave bones in my car. Bones. Why? How do you manage to leave the bones?
Somebody did, and somebody stole it.
The spiritual
those are two stories.
The spiritual angle is hard because the Brampton man is sort of not that. He doesn't have that much finesse.
Good call.
He's not a finesse criminal. He's more of a brute force, But then again, like the bones thing, why is the Brampton man may steal a Sawzall, but a Sawzall doesn't really fetch that much money at pawn shops. It fetches I'll give you some inside baseball here. A pawn shop or a secondhand store will try and pay you like between 20 and 30% of retail and then sell it for about half of retail. That's really how you make your margins. So a Sawzall might go for what, $120? Let's say you buy it off this guy for 20 maybe and sell it for 40 or 50. Like he's going to make $20 breaking into a car. It seems to me that a Hamilton man would know that, but a Brampton man may not. So
are there a lot of people in Hamilton that have $60,000 floating around to lose?
Geezers do. We're in the middle.
I think Brampton, there's more grandmas around in Brampton
point.
with 60 grand to waste.
Interesting to have another guy to bounce these ideas off of. Yeah, maybe you're right. There's like older wealth in Brampton. Hamilton's in the middle of like a gypsy jewelry distraction crime wave. There was just a number of arrests made. So I don't know.
That's a hint for
yeah.
for that one.
Like I don't know how old
Can
the
we get a
story
hint?
is.
Len, is there a time?
No
is there like
no hints?
like some
Phone
of
a
these
friend.
stories are older, right? Can you give us a year? Because like digging the bones and stuff, and even there's like digging of the jewelry.
I'm gonna say,
like obviously this got to be in the summer.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that the Brampton man, Corey, I think you're right. The Brampton man is the jewelry guy, and the Hamilton man
that's
is
my
the bones
instinct
guy.
as well.
Yeah,
That's my
okay.
instinct. Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, so the Brampton man is indeed the jewelry guy.
Huge.
Darshan Dhaliwal.
Nice.
The guy.
Brampton man.
And the
So he's
the
out on
bones
bail
dude-
already? Is that true? Is that where we think he's out on bail? We don't know.
Fucking know.
Check the court records. We got to find out.
And and last I heard, those bones are still at large, so I'm not sure what happened with them. Maybe they
It would
caught
be
them. I
really
don't
cool
fucking know.
one week, Len, if you found like a couple of stories that it was the same man. It's like that Brampton man like committed a
Traveling.
crime in Brampton, and then he went to Hamilton and then committed a different crime in Hamilton. But it would be the same man. That would be
But
a
then-
real good twist.
But then it's not true because I have one's a Brampton man, one is a Hamilton man. I
But
still
one-
need to have one Brampton, one
But
Hamilton.
one can become
it's
a
technical.
Hamilton
Yeah,
man
it's
after
technical.
being a Brampton man.
No.
Okay. Listen.
Just like when they say all these news stories, a Brampton man, and it's always assaulted somebody, raped somebody, got
Yeah.
into an accident. So, I gotta follow suit with this. If they want to say that's the Brampton man, I'm gonna use that as my story.
That's
the
right.
Brampton man.
That's right. That's it for tonight. Corey, thank you for your time. Glad I made it through the episode. It's nice to have a third wheel here. Len, of course, my co-host with the most. Good to see you. I'm going to release the episode I did with Doomberg sometime this week when I'm finished editing the video.
Looking forward to that one.
It's going to be great. I will tell you that for a guy who is so careful with what he says, I think I caught him off guard with one question and he didn't give like a typical Doomberg response. Sounded like a man. He bled for a couple of minutes, which was great. So great episode. If you haven't listened to the Kevin Muir episode yet, you ought to. It was very good. We did that at the World Outlook Conference. And this Thursday at 7, not streamed, I'll be talking to Scott Horton about all things geopolitics and American empire, of course. So anyway,
Cool.
See you then. Take care of yourselves. Like the video if you're on YouTube, subscribe, all that stuff. And we'll talk to you soon.
Don't be a cock.